We are back, and it's time for us to now have a look at the newspapers. We're just going to be looking at the highlights. The Daily Nation here is going with the headline Fresh Plot to Impeach Sakaja. Quite interesting. I'm seeing Nairobi MCAs have revived their bid to impeach Governor Johnson Sakaja, claiming his deal with State House for help to run the county is admission of inability to govern. So the story continues, and this is how it's building up. Pages 4 and 5 is covering that story. I'm also seeing another story here. Day Eater asked me to save Raila from Moi detention horror. So it says here in the late 1980s, Martha Koome was a young lawyer and activist whose most urgent priority was to find her footing in the profession when she was unexpectedly thrust into the intensity of multi-party politics and the brutal crackdown by the Daniel Moi regime. In our exclusive three-part serialization of Courting Courage, the Chief Justice autobiography by Moran Publishers, she writes about a frustrating partnership with the Mercurial Japhet Shamala representing political detainees, including Raila Odinga, and her role in the dramatic escape of iconic opposition leader Jaramogi Oginga Odinga that tricked intelligence officers. So you can look at that story. That's a book by Martha Koome called Courting Courage. Moving on, I see NIS report 1,000 Kenyans fighting for Russia war. This is a story covered on page 6. And of course, we know that many of them are there against their will. So let's keep praying for our Kenyans who are stuck in the Russian war. I see rogue police linked to crime, and also vitamin A shortage puts children at risk of deadly infections. Yes, so the vitamin A is very, very much important for children. And it says here for 2 months, Kenya has been experiencing a shortage of vitamin A supplements for children, leaving mothers desperate and children increasingly vulnerable to preventable illnesses. This is a story that has been covered on page 9. Moving on with the Daily Nation, I see PNU backs Jubilee and endorses Matiang'i for president. This is a story that has been covered on the Daily Nation as well. And I also see Ruaraka land saga, Deputy President Kindiki Matiang'i lock horn. So you can look at that story in more detail. That is on the Daily Nation digital space. And moving on, maybe just to look at the Standard newspaper. The top story here is asking the question, who is fooling who? It says here that before the link had dried on the cooperation agreement between President William Ruto and Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, a political backlash had already erupted. Critics are branding the 80 billion shillings pact a backdoor takeover disguised as a partnership. Senators, MPs, and civil society groups say the opaque deal sidelines the Senate and the County Assembly, skirts public participation, and risks reviving the ghost of NMS. So with billions in play as the 2027 contest ages closer, opponents argue the capital city is now being turned into a high-stakes arena for a graft. Quite interesting. Of course, this is just following the pact that Johnson Sakaja has made with President William Ruto to help out with some of the core issues that are affecting the city of Nairobi, and that has sparked a lot of reaction, even with the reviving of the impeachment conversations by the Nairobi MCAs. Moving on, I see Kenyan activist Boniface Mwangi said on Wednesday that he fears for his life after authorities installed spyware on his phone during his arrest last year. Quite interesting. I also see another story here. The Indian High Commissioner to Kenya, Adash Swaika, toured the Coastal Special Economic Zones corridor to inspect the multi-billion emerging industrial opportunities. And let's come down to the Business Daily, see some of the highlights. It says here that Kenya seeks ID cards from Elon Musk. I think this is actually news from yesterday, so allow me to just peruse through the current one. Yes, here it is. It says Nyota startups face collapse with 1 billion shillings. It goes ahead to say that state expects 20% of businesses to fail, and 5.2 billion shillings set aside for youth enterprises. Of course, with the Nyota coming up just a few months towards the election, definitely a lot of questions there, but we continue to follow up on the same and see how it turns out. But it says here that 120,000 is the number of young people who have benefited from the 3 billion shillings disbursed so far. So definitely it has helped quite a number of people, and the government projects that about 20% of the targeted, that number that we've mentioned, 120,000 youth-run businesses will not survive in an economic setting where small and micro enterprises struggle to see their 5th birthday. So yes, we are having all this monies disbursed, but will it hold? I also see another story. Kenya offers to buy back 64 billion shillings Eurobonds. That is also covered on the Business Daily. I also see bank card payments rise to 297 billion shillings on merchants' uptake. Stamp duty hits low value stock market transactions. And there is a quote here by Michael A. Macharia in the Intelligence Beat saying Africa is now producing more graduates than at any time in history. Yet alongside this growth is a quieter crisis. And you can look at that, and I think part of it is also unemployment. We have many graduates because, you know, growing up we were told you go to school, go to a nice university, and then you will get a good job. But nowadays, I mean, it's not a guarantee that just because you have good education, you have done well in your university education, that you will get a job. So definitely we are having things going south even for so many graduates in our country today. And we continue to pray that, you know, opportunities will open for them, that the government will see the need to ensure that we have employment opportunities. But also, I like to encourage our youth. I mean, we have brains, we have minds, we can innovate, we can be creative. And that means that you shouldn't just stay home. Do that which you can do. Na usichague kazi. There's a time I talked to a guy who was selling smokies, and he was just telling me that he graduated from school. He has a degree, but he's doing what he's doing because food is needed on the table. Not saying that you go and sell smoky, but for him, he's able to pay his rent, he's able to pay for his children's school fees, and he is waking up every single morning just around Kenyatta University very early. He knows that's a prime place, and there are a lot of students, and they're obviously going to be taking smokies and all. So, I mean, don't choose work. You can do something small, but then be creative about it. Let's not keep waiting for the government to open these opportunities as young people. I believe that we have to also put the plow to the ground and do that which we can do, because we are endowed with so much talent and skill as well. Because we can complain, but I mean, there are too many people. The government may not be able to serve every one of them, but you yourself, with the education you have received, what can you do? What do you have in your hand? What talent do you have that you can explore that can bring you an income? So I believe that this is also a call for our graduates to arise, be creative, and do something. Create that employment. It is for you to create it. Don't wait for it to be created for you. So allow us to now take a short break as we look at the video of the day. But that's it for the newspapers. Let's keep praying for our youth, and also let's keep praying for our nation. Even as we are gearing up towards the election, we need to keep praying for God's intervention. Let's look at the video of the day.